Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I really want to thank the witness for her incredible testimony so far and the work that she's doing. I guess my first question to you, Ms. Clark-Kozak, is the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees produced an education report in 2024 and recently reported that almost half of the world's 14.8 million school-aged refugee children are not in school, which is obviously deeply alarming. We know that children first, that education is a fundamental human right, and quality education is a powerful tool for shaping positive outcomes for children. What can the international community do to speed up progress in increasing education enrollment for child refugees? And, specifically, how can Canada help lead?
Thank you for the question. So I think that it's really important here to recognize that when we're talking about the right to education, as I mentioned earlier, we have more than 70% of the world's displacement in countries of the global south that already are very poor. And so one way in which Canada can contribute is to finance primary and secondary and tertiary education in those contexts. And in many cases, in cases that I've been in Uganda, for example, education is provided for both locals and refugees in the same schools. So this is a good way of actually helping to bring together the development and the humanitarian sides, so that in fact both nationals and refugees are benefiting. Because in some cases, if you provide better education for refugees, this then causes problems with local populations who are also poor and don't have access to education. So that's one thing, the resources. And I would also just clarify for the committee, as you probably already know, in many contexts, secondary school is not free. Even local children are not being able to access secondary education. And so this, a financial support would be one thing. The second thing I would also say is when we look at the stats on children in school in displacement contexts, there is a disparity between boys and girls. Girls are not going to school because they're expected to do domestic and caregiving responsibilities, but also because there's widespread sexual violence in schools, including by educators. So this is an area where there needs to be more advocacy and more sensitization around the rights of women and girls in these contexts. So I would say those would be two practical means in which Canada could encourage more education within these contexts.